There's a kind of tiredness that sleep doesn't touch. You wake up after 8 hours and the weight is still there, pressing against your chest, settling into your bones. It's not the tiredness of a long day or a busy week. It's deeper than that. It's the exhaustion of showing up to a life that feels like it's asking too much, too often, with too little in return. You're not sad, exactly. You're not in crisis. You're just depleted. Like a phone that's been running on 10% for months, dimming its screen to survive, shutting down everything that isn't essential. And you keep going because that's what you do. But somewhere along the way, you stopped feeling like you were living and started feeling like you were just continuing. If that sounds familiar, you're not broken. You're not weak. You're not failing at being human. You're exhausted in a way most people don't have language for. We talk about physical tiredness. We talk about burnout at work. We even talk about mental health now more than we used to. But we rarely talk about this, the fatigue that lives underneath everything else. The kind that makes you look at your own life and think, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. Not because you want to disappear, but because existing in the way you've been existing feels unsustainable. You're tired of performing, tired of pretending you're fine when someone asks how you are, tired of the same conversations, the same routines, the same version of yourself that you've been dragging through each day like a costume that doesn't fit anymore. And the hardest part? You can't always explain it. There's no single event, no trauma you can point to and say, that's when it started. It's more like a slow leak, so gradual you didn't notice until you were running on empty. This is what emotional exhaustion actually looks like. And it's far more common than you think. Here's what happens when you give more than you receive for too long. Your internal reserves start to run out. Think of your emotional energy like a bank account. Every interaction, every responsibility, every moment you push through something difficult, that's a withdrawal. Rest, connection, meaning, joy, those are deposits. And when you're making withdrawals every day without enough deposits, eventually you hit zero. Your brain notices this. It starts rationing. It begins shutting down the parts of you that aren't immediately necessary for survival. Creativity? Gone. Motivation? Offline. The ability to feel excited about things? Muted. You stop looking forward to things. Plans you used to enjoy feel like obligations. Hobbies gather dust. You scroll instead of engaging. You say, I'm fine, instead of, I'm struggling. Not because you're lying, but because you genuinely don't have the energy to explain. This isn't depression in the way we usually talk about it. It's not necessarily sadness or hopelessness. It's more like numbness. A muted version of life where nothing feels quite as bright as it used to. You're not drowning. You're just treading water in a sea that has no shore in sight. And you start to wonder if this is just what adulthood is. If everyone feels this way and no one talks about it. If you're supposed to just accept that life is heavy and keep moving anyway. But that question, is this it? Is actually important. Because it's not resignation. It's your system trying to tell you something. When you live in a state of chronic emotional depletion, your brain rewires itself. It stops responding to the things that used to bring you pleasure. Not because you've changed, but because your reward system is exhausted. The part of your brain that used to light up when something good happened, a message from a friend, a beautiful sunset, a favorite song, starts dimming. It's not that you don't want to feel joy. It's that your brain has learned to conserve energy by feeling less. This is why everything feels flat. Why you can logically know something is good or beautiful or worth appreciating, but you can't quite feel it. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's protecting you. It's doing what it thinks it needs to do to keep you alive. But here's the problem. You don't just want to be alive. You want to feel alive. And there's a devastating difference between the two. You start moving through your days like a ghost in your own life. You do the things. You check the boxes. You show up. But some essential part of you, the part that used to care, that used to feel, that used to be excited about being here, has gone quiet. And that's terrifying. Because if you're not sad, and you're not in danger, and nothing is technically wrong, then what is this? Let's be very clear about something. Being tired of existing is not the same as being suicidal. You don't want to die. You just want the noise to stop. You want a break from the relentless pace of being a person, the expectations, the responsibilities, the constant low-level stress of just keeping it together. You want to step off the treadmill for a minute and catch your breath. You want to feel like yourself again. But you're not even sure who that is anymore. This isn't about ending your life. It's about wanting a different one. Or maybe just a different version of the one you have. One where you're not so tired all the time. Where things feel lighter. Where you remember what it's like to want something, instead of just getting through the day. But because you can't articulate this without sounding dramatic or broken, you stay quiet. You carry it alone. You tell yourself it's not that bad. That other people have it worse. That you should be grateful. And that only makes it heavier. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from doing things that don't matter to you. You wake up. You go through the motions. You do what you're supposed to do. And at the end of the day, you lie in bed and think, what was that for? Not in an existential crisis way. Just in a quiet, persistent way. Like a question that sits in the back of your mind and never quite goes away. This is meaning fatigue. It's what happens when your life is full of tasks but empty of purpose. When you're busy but not fulfilled. When you're productive but not connected to why you're doing any of it. You can survive without meaning for a while. Your brain is wired to keep you alive, not happy. But eventually, survival isn't enough. Eventually, you need a reason. Something that makes the tiredness worth it. Something that reminds you why you're here. And when you can't find it, or when you've lost touch with it, everything starts to feel pointless. Not in a nihilistic way, but in a quietly desperate way. Like you're waiting for something to click back into place, but you don't know what it is or how to find it. Viktor Frankl, who survived unimaginable suffering, said that people can endure almost anything if they have a why. But the inverse is also true. Without a why, even the smallest things feel unbearable. Your exhaustion might not be about what you're doing. It might be about what's missing. The meaning, the connection, the sense that what you're doing matters, not to the world, but to you. Here's the shift. What if your exhaustion isn't a malfunction? What if it's a message? What if the part of you that's tired isn't giving up, it's waking up? When you feel this kind of depletion, it's often because something in your life is out of alignment. Not broken, just misaligned. You're living in a way that doesn't fit who you actually are anymore. You're operating by rules or expectations or versions of yourself that made sense once, but don't anymore. And your body, your brain, your whole system is trying to get your attention. It's saying, this isn't working. Something has to change. That doesn't mean you need to burn your life down. It doesn't mean everything is wrong. It just means that the way you've been existing, the roles you've been playing, the pace you've been keeping, the parts of yourself you've been ignoring, isn't sustainable. And recognizing that isn't failure. It's clarity. The exhaustion is pointing you toward something. Toward what's missing. Toward what needs to shift. Toward the parts of your life that are taking from you without giving back. It's uncomfortable. But it's also the beginning of something. If you're hoping for a single moment of revelation, a lightning bolt of purpose that suddenly makes everything make sense, I'm sorry. That's not usually how it works. Meaning returns slowly, in small moments, in quiet shifts. It's the first morning in months where you wake up and don't immediately feel dread. It's the conversation that actually feels real instead of transactional. It's the hour you spend doing something just because you wanted to, not because you had to. It's the realization that you laughed today and didn't have to force it. It's not about fixing everything. It's about making space for something other than exhaustion. About letting yourself stop even for a minute and ask, what do I actually need right now? Not what you should need. Not what would make you more productive or impressive or successful. What you, as a person who's been running on empty, actually need to feel like yourself again. Maybe it's rest. Real rest. Not scrolling, not distracting yourself, but actual stillness. Maybe it's honesty. Saying out loud, even just to yourself, I'm not okay. And that's okay. Maybe it's permission. To let go of something you've been carrying that was never yours to carry in the first place. Maybe it's rediscovery. Going back to something you used to love before life got so loud. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be big. It just has to be yours. You won't wake up one day and suddenly feel whole again. But you might wake up one day and realize the weight is a little lighter. That something small has shifted. That you felt something today, really felt it, and it didn't scare you. You're not going to be fixed by a single insight or a perfect routine or someone else's advice. You're going to find your way back by listening. By paying attention to what your exhaustion is trying to tell you. By making small, quiet choices that honor the person you actually are, not the person you think you're supposed to be. This isn't about returning to who you were before. That version of you doesn't exist anymore. You've been through too much. You've carried too much. You've learned things you can't unlearn. But maybe, on the other side of this exhaustion, there's a version of you that's more honest, more aligned, more aware of what actually matters. Maybe being this tired is what it took to stop pretending, to stop performing, to stop living a life that looked fine on the outside but felt hollow on the inside. Maybe this is the part where you start building something different, not all at once, just piece by piece, breath by breath. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself in these words, I want you to know something. You're not the only one who feels this way. You're not weak for being tired. You're not broken for struggling to care about things that used to matter. You're not failing at life because you can't muster the energy to keep pretending everything is fine. You're human, and you've been carrying more than any human is meant to carry for this long. The exhaustion you feel is real. It's valid. And it's telling you something important. You don't have to have the answers right now. You don't have to fix it all today. You just have to be willing to listen, to acknowledge what's true, to make space for the possibility that things can feel different, not perfect, but different. Being tired of existing isn't the end of your story. It's the middle. It's the part where something old is falling away and something new hasn't emerged yet. And that in-between space is uncomfortable and disorienting and exhausting. But it's also where transformation happens. Not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind, the kind where you slowly, carefully start choosing yourself. Where you stop waiting for permission and start giving it to yourself. Where you realize that the life you've been living doesn't have to be the life you keep living. You don't have to know what comes next. You just have to know that you're still here. Still listening, still willing to try. And that's enough. For now, that's enough. Lest things feel unbearable. If this resonated with you, if you felt seen or understood, even just for a moment, would you leave a comment? Not with answers or advice. Just with where you are. A single word, a sentence, whatever feels true. Sometimes the most healing thing is knowing you're not the only one feeling this way. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing. I create content for people who are tired, lost, or trying to make sense of what they're feeling. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself.